what passion, what energy.
Welcome to Getting There with your host, your mate, Ginger Kate. And today we are interviewing the show's host, Brogan Garrit-Smith.
Hola! I love that intro.
Wasn't that good?
I feel like it's a brave outfit choice. You must not sweat how I do.
Yeah, no, I know. I think I'm going to get, the under boob sweat.
No.
There's a line.
This is rolling, by the way.
Oh, okay. No, that's all right. I don't mind that, actually.
I wore that very similar outfit, but in beige for my podcast live event, the first thing I'd ever done, Kate, live, and sweated my nuts off.
Yeah.
So when you look back at the pictures, I can't even post them. There's a sweat patch that's from here to here, there. Yeah, no, you're all right.
Oh, no, look, there.
Yeah,
you're
all right.
I'm all right. We're good. We're good.
Brave.
Anyway.
Let's get into it.
Anyway. Look at me, the professional podcaster. I think Jessie's out there perving on me.
I could be out of a job.
No, right, come on, let's be serious now.
Talk to me.
My first question
Yeah, go on.
is going to be, only because, and don't take this the wrong way, when I came on your show, I didn't know who you were. I didn't. But then I don't run in those circles, okay? So I don't watch TV. I'm not into the Essex scene. Would we say that about you? So my first question is going to be, for people like me that have no idea who you are, where you've come from, and what you've done previously, how would you explain yourself to somebody? How would you describe yourself to somebody that knew nothing about you?
Oh, that's hard, isn't it?
You can take your time because I realise I sprung it on you.
No.
I
love
I sprung it on you.
Well, guys, at least they know this isn't rehearsed.
There you go, exactly.
So
But listen, I haven't got any more questions after this.
I really champion it. I really believe that I am just a girl trying to get there. And I know that's really cliche in terms of the show's title and everything, but my whole life, Kate, I've spent chasing a destination or a place or an accolade that would basically make me feel worthy or I was there. And it was this thing, early in life, I really wanted children. Then I was like, I'm going to go and get this job on my own. And I done all of these things. And I always thought that I'd arrive at this destination. And I always felt that when I box checked them, and I mean, especially motherhood, and, work, everything. I was like, right, I'm there now. I've got it.
So what are those things, though? What are those things that you ticked off?
Okay, so...
Tell us what you've done.
Okay, so I left school. I went into Morgan Stanley. I started off as a trainee on the trade floor, literally. They were like,
I didn't know this.
Did you not?
No,
so I
didn't
went in
know
for an
this.
interview, and they were like, everyone was like 40-year-old, middle-aged women that were the assistants, because they were experienced, right? And you're working in a high turnaround environment, super
fast-paced and male-orientated, isn't it?
It was like Wolf on Wall Street, because
Yeah,
we're going back to
I'd love that.
Yeah, 2009.
How exciting.
2009, when you could say stuff. I mean, you probably couldn't say half the shit we used to say.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd walk on. I was responsible for like 70 lines. And the lady was so lovely. I'll never forget her name. Her name was Amanda. And she walked in and she was like, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but you haven't got enough experience. Like, I didn't have a job. I think I probably lied and said I'd worked. I mean, I had worked at my dad's, but then I think I'd probably changed the property name a few times.
So it wasn't my dad.
Yeah, and I was just like, do you know what? I tell you what, why don't you employ me but not pay me? And she was like, what the fuck's going on here? I was like, and I will work for you for free.
How old were you here then at this point?
18. I was like, I will work for you for free. And then after that, you're going to want to pay me. And it's probably you're going to want to pay me more than what you're even offering. And she was like, because obviously it's quite red tape, corporate, isn't it? So she was like, we don't employ people and not pay them. Like, that goes completely against their corporate social responsibility. And she asked me a few questions and I was just very open and honest. Like, I'm just here and I'm just eager to learn. I want to get my foot in the door. And I got the job and I worked as a float assistant, which was really good, but really challenging, especially as a young girl, because you had to basically fill in the gaps. It was a float where other assistants were missing. So you would go and work with all levels of personnel. So I could have like a managing director down all the way to a vice president, but you were pretty much a dog's body and the way people would speak to you would be so different. And to learn the team, everyone's teams run differently. So I could be from like on the equities floor onto the sales floor. So everything was run differently. So you really like thrown in at the deep end. But I learned so much from that. And I was so happy because I felt that I had created my own career away from my family. I was so destined early on to do something great because of me and not because of anyone else. And I think I still could be like one of the youngest people they've ever employed at like 18, who's not been to university either.
Yeah.
And then I worked my way up. And by the end, I had I was on the team and the assistant used to assist me and book my flights and do my expenses. I was like, how bougie is that? And I had chased this thing, right, this ladder all the way up. But the more I got into it, the more I realised that I was just a number. And when I was watching the women who were remarkably successful in their field, they were...
As traders?
Okay, yeah.
Right.
And within, they're not necessarily traders, but they're all in that environment. I looked at them, Kate, and I was like, you're like middle-aged, between like 40 and 50. You've got no husband. You've got no kids. Your value was created on what you brought into the company, the hours you worked. It was very, very rat race. I think there's been a big shift now, but it was that horrible atmosphere where it'd be like, she took an extra 10 minutes at lunch. Like, now you couldn't do that.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But it would be very much like dog eat dog because everyone's fighting for each other's
And do you think as well with that, just from what I've seen on like that kind of environment, is that you're almost kind of like a martyr if you work longer, work later, don't have a lunch. Do you know what I mean? It's always that kind of seen as a weakness almost.
7. Bearing in mind,
That's
I was there.
wild.
But from Essex, it's an hour's drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would finish between like 6 and 7. So I, as a young girl, had no life, Kate.
No.
Because what I would do is by the time I could have left at like 5, half 5, I would have spent 2 hours in rush hour. So I'm actually better off waiting till 6:30.
Yes.
And spending an hour in my car and getting ahead of things. But I was really, really liked and accepted by my team, and they made me permanent. And then they brought me on to the actual team, and I trained in the pharmaceutical industry to do all the road shows for that. So which was completely wild. Like, they paid for me to travel and stuff, Kate.
Yeah.
And like that for me was like, I'm being paid. And we would go to all these dinners.
So how old are you at this point then?
23.
23, okay.
And I'd go for dinners, and all I was doing was like sitting next to pervy Nick across the dinner table, who I'd have to sit there until 11 o'clock at night and pretend I give a fuck about what he does in his personal life. And I would know he's just...
Sorry about this, Nick.
So I hope my dad's not listening. He was probably just looking down my top as well, or like, you know, just like pervy old men that I didn't really want to spend my time with.
Do you feel like people took you seriously, or do you think people saw you as a bit of a dolly bird? Like, no offence to you, but you know, young, attractive. Do they take you seriously?
People took me seriously at the company, but then when I went to certain events, they probably thought, oh.
Yeah.
But I'm not lying, Kate. Yeah, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Love it.
Yeah, I did. I had
Brilliant.
no idea. And then there would be times when we'd have like the CFO of like Sanofi, which is like a huge pharmaceutical company, in the boardroom. And then I would have set up the meeting and they would speak to me after. I think, I don't know what just happened. I have got no idea. And still to this day, right, the lady, oh my gosh, she's my best mate, Ria. So I used to be her assistant, and she saw me and her. And I mean, she's huge now. She's in America. She's like she's an executive director. She gave me that job, right? And even the other day, like, we're still best mates now. I was like, no idea how I did that, or like what the hell I was doing. But they just loved me because I would just try. And I can imagine. And I was nice and I was relentless. But what happened is I just kept getting sick. And back then, there was never the body and mind correlation ever at all. I mean, Kate, like every 8 weeks I was on antibiotics. I had chest infections.
It's an industry though, it's renowned for burnout though, isn't it?
Burnout
like
to
a lot of them retire
degree.
really young just because they're so burnt out.
Yeah, and I was so determined to feel enough or valued that I just worked my
Powered
arse
on
into
through.
it. And I was also like, to put into perspective, I had this relationship, and when I say really not serving me, guys, like really not serving me. Like, I had this boyfriend, he would go out all night and I would like sit up, so I'd have no sleep, and then like ringing him, finding where he was, then getting upset. I mean, now I look back, he was probably with the world and its dog, like cheating on me.
Yeah.
And I would get so upset because he became what I thought was my safe space.
Yeah.
And then I just kept getting ill, and they sent me to this doctor, and it's the first time anyone had done like a mind-body correlation to me. It would have been 2014. And he'd done all my scans, and he just sat me down and he said, whatever you're looking for, you're not going to find it in this room, and you're not going to find it in what you're doing. You're 24 years of age and your body is so chronically burnt out. And this is before we even really knew what burnout was. He said, I need to sign you off for 6 months.
Wow, 6 months?
6 months. And
wow.
I was like, I'm not a pussy. Because like then you'd be like, what, someone's getting signed off, pussy? Like,
that's what I mean with that industry.
Babe,
that was
wild.
so bad. You're like martyrs.
Babe, you're just a number.
Yeah.
You're a hunter. So my dad could see what I was going through, and he was like, I don't get, you're doing all these hours and all this stuff for, obviously, you're not earning any more money. It's a set wage. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm doing this and I might have some more money at the end of the year. And he was like, take some time off. And then when the guy said the 6 months, my dad said, look, why don't you go and take a few weeks off and decide what you want to do? And from the back of that, I was so used to just being busy in Cape, because being busy gave me value. And if I sat still, I felt worthless and I wasn't achieving, I wasn't doing. And that narrative was even burning me out.
So where does that come from, though?
My dad.
Right. Okay. So that's what I knew. Okay. So I kind of knew that was coming.
Yeah,
so let's touch on your dad now that you've brought him up. He's very, very successful, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay. And how did that affect you growing up, and how you view yourself and your self-worth, and how do you feel like there's a correlation
It's
between
so
that?
hard growing up in someone's shadow, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, the values of which he and I both have are probably a little bit different. So my dad is like amazing, and he's amazing what he does, and he's really good at making money and all that kind of thing. And I've always just been really creative, Kate, and I'm really good with people, and I'm really good with the charities they help and stuff. But I've just never really been that good on like monetizing myself.
Yeah.
And I always felt that because he was so successful, that I was that version of there. Like I was just never going to get there. So it almost can stop you from trying. But that's why I was so desperate to work my arse off and prove myself.
Because you wanted to impress your dad.
Oh, desperately.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to have my own thing and be like, yeah, I can do this too.
Trying to emulate his success, and him to be like, oh, Brogan, wow, you've just done as well. Right.
But I've come to realise, and it's a lot of work, is that I'm never going to be him, and that's okay. And it's okay that I'm never going to earn what he's earned or whatever that is. But it's just really important that I become... I do believe I am, is a really good person. And the things that I was brought up showing what success looked like, it's taken me years and years of therapy and untangling that patterning from the outside world and your parents and everything else. Success doesn't have to look a certain way.
No, success is different to everybody.
Yeah, I've seen people in a lot of pain my whole life, and money doesn't make anything better.
No.
And I think that was my biggest thing. So I think a lot of people chase money in this idea that that's going to make everything better. But the people that I've seen in the biggest pain of my life have got money, and that's not a problem. And I think when you start revisiting what success looks like, then you can really start to understand what you want to do with your life. So success for me is just, and this sounds so woo-woo, right? But it's just me being me. It's by me showing up, having the conversations I want to have, not saying something because I want you to like me. You know those silly little things that we override?
Absolutely.
We're like, success is this job. Like, success is you and I having a conversation, Kate, and me saying what I really feel. Yeah? Conspiracy shit or not. And we bat it off. But not like, if I say this, Kate might like me. Or if I do this, someone might love me. If I do this, and I'm putting on all these masks in order to feel accepted and loved from the world. Like, success for me is
you just want to be you, don't you?
Yeah, I just want to be me.
you.
And do you know what? The craziest thing in the last year where I've just been me, I've been more accepted than loved in my whole life.
Do you know why? Do you know why as well? And I'll tell you why. It's because authenticity is the highest vibration that you can vibe at.
Is it?
Higher than love. Unbelievable. Like people don't... So you being your authentic self, you are sending out the highest possible frequency that you can just by being yourself, just by being who you are.
And I just feel like by you being you, like you're enough. I've chased my whole life on all these things, and we'll get into more, like just wanting to feel enough or validated. And the thing is, by you being you, that's enough. And I think going back to this as well, we often override the fact that we are being constantly guided by ourselves. So like trust. If I went back, Kate, and I used to do this journey every day to work, which we just spoke about an hour, and I'd go over the bridge and I'd listen to the girl on Kiss FM, and I'd be like, I can fucking do that, yeah? But I was like, I can never be her. Yeah, but like, why couldn't I present it? Like, it's literally, guys, they don't do much. They've got a song every other minute. She introduces the next song, they make it to a time. And I was like, I can really do that. And I just never forget it. And I was like, but when I looked that back, it was like, you want that. But I was so feeling worthless enough to go, I'd like to be a radio presenter.
Yeah.
I actually just sat there with envy, like, hasn't she got the best job in the world while I sit in this 2-hour traffic? And I think not until you start to understand that actually you're being guided. Like now when we look back, it's a very similar thing what we're doing now. I say to everyone, I'd love to do Piers Morgan's life stories. Like, and when you look back on the correlation, you're being so guided all of the time. And often we just override that as like, they've got this, they've got that. But I believe that you wouldn't be called to anything that wasn't meant for you.
Yeah.
So I know we have a lot of similar interests, but we're not going to be called to everything the same because we're not meant to have the same thing.
No.
Like, there'll be people listening to this be like, are you batshit crazy? Who wants to be a radio presenter? That's the worst job in the world. But if you'd said to me, I've got to get up at 4 and I get to do the 5 o'clock show, I'd be like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
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 But I feel like we're being called so much more, and I think you already know so much than what you think you know. I spent my life looking for answers of the outside world, telling me, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And I think when we come into this world, I've spoken about it before, but I feel that the world hands us this map of success. Like, this is what it looks like, right? So, and I was following it, Kate, to the T. You've got to go get a job. You've got to go do this. You've got to have a relationship, even though none of them were serving me. And that's on an emotional and a physical thing. Then I was going to have a baby, and then I was going to do all of this stuff. And it goes, here's the map, right? And you're going to end up here. And it kind of overrides our own GPS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
as humans, we forget what life's meant to feel like.
Yeah.
So we try and look for what it should look like. And when you start feeling into life, and like, that feels good.
Mm-hmm. Trusting your own instincts, isn't it? Intuition and all of that, because we've all got it. But along the way, over the years, we as humans lose that in your intuition. Do you know what I mean?
I think we
and
get
stuff.
Programmed
we
by
do.
The world. Yeah, and
we do.
Even by caregivers who
by our
don't mean
parents,
to do that.
our teachers, the schooling system. You know, all of that there shapes our world and our perspective of things. Which is why everyone has a different perspective on things. But how in that case then did you end up with your podcast and doing
that's
this?
Interesting. Right, so I won't. Right, okay. So the guy was like, "You need to get out here 6 months." I was like, "Pussies," because I felt like I was going to be judged when I go back, and like she's had 6 months off. So my dad said, "Look, why don't you?" He could see how burnt out I was. And he was like, "Look, why don't you take a few months off?" So I was like, "I can't sit still. I can't just go and lay in bed and go for walks and recover. Who does that? Wild.
Spend time in nature.
I would have said you were batshit crazy. Like going ground, I would have said, "Yo, lock her up."
Yeah. What?
She's a
Barefoot.
Fruit Loop. She's wild. So I just thought, right, so what is it I want to achieve? So I thought, I want to learn to cook. Philanthropy, like giving back, has always been a huge part of my life. Like I used to always spend my time at Crisis Christmas, over Christmas and New Year. It's always been a really disruptive, lonely time for myself and my sisters because of things that were going on. And I used to shift that. So I suppose looking back, I was aware. I'd be like, I can't feel like this. Or how am I going to feel better? How am I going to feel better? I'm going to go and give to other people. So it actually is quite a selfish thing sometimes to help people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think it's the best feeling in the world.
Absolutely.
And my birthday's 2 days after Christmas. I've got so much childhood trauma of that because everyone like forgets you.
Oh,
so yeah.
gosh.
So I was like, so I spent quite a few of my birthdays at homeless shelters and things, and I loved that. But that was always in London. So I was like, right, let me go and give back.
Because you've done a lot of this is what
Yeah,
surprised me
Haiti,
about
aren't
you.
we?
We'll get onto that in a minute. But you've done a lot of charity work and a lot.
I've raised £1 million in the last,
I know. But this is you don't talk about this. You don't bring this up. Like I wouldn't have known this. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so much that you have done that people just wouldn't
expect.
No, well, I certainly didn't. I certainly did not expect just by looking at you, and I know that's very judgmental.
But we all do it, don't we?
We all do. Of course we do.
Yeah.
And knowing that you're part of like, you know, the Essex crowd and all of that. And so when I found out like what you got up to in your life, I was like, what? The two did not just...
Yeah, and that's why I was really keen to never go on That's the Only Way to Essex. As many times
because you got asked, didn't you, to go on?
And I got asked. I still get asked to go on things now.
We're talking about the...
Only Way to Essex.
Yeah. That's
and
it.
Loads of my friends and people went on it. Do you know what? I don't know how the fuck this happened to me. But I was like, I'm going to go to Haiti. They're not long had an earthquake. Haiti. Guys, Google that. How far? Like, it's not even third world. It must be like fourth world country.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So bad, guys.
How did that come about, though?
Oh, my God, it's wild. Right,
Go
so
on.
basically... I was like, I'm going to go to Haiti because I felt I was going to I wanted to see the people in the worst situations, in the worst place and give them hope and go and see them. So anyway, I registered. But
I love the way I'm going to give them hope.
I don't know. They're going to give me hope that I'm going to be all
go
right.
out and perform for them.
Wildest thing. Here I am. So I don't know how I registered, and I'm not going to lie. I've got, as you can see, quite a short attention span. I must Googled it, and the same place come up, and I was like, yeah, I'll have a bit of that, and just probably wrote the form. So called my travel agent, booked the tickets. Yeah. So I don't like to look into stuff, which my dad says is my issue because he's like, the devil's in the detail.
Do not let
guys,
people convince you that it's your toxic trait. It could be your superpower.
Well, I would never have done this. Yeah,
This is why I mean your superpower.
Yeah, my superpower is I'll figure it out when I get there.
Yeah.
So I will sort us out when we get there.
Yeah.
But right now, there's so many people living in my head that I just can't take that bit on.
No, I've got to get to Haiti and give them
Yeah,
hope.
I've just got to get. I've got to save
Don't worry,
the world, folks.
Brogan's here.
I've got to save the world. So off I go, and you have to go via New York. So off I get in New York. An awful. My boyfriend had been out on an all-night bender the night before. Never took me to the airport. It was like that in the front room. He never took me to the airport. So I'm in like Epping with a suitcase. So I've got to get from Epping to Haiti, guys. I mean, you Google it. It'd probably take you like 6,000 years to walk.
I can't believe he didn't give you a fucking lift.
Come through the door like that. I was like, mate, we are not going to get there in one piece.
I mean, oh God, of all the
So off we go to
nights.
Haiti. This is a true story. I had to drive his car like that.
Is he going with you?
Yeah, he's hanging out the window. Probably he's not coming with me. He was meant to do drop off. But I thought,
he's not going with you.
I'm not
Right.
paying for a cab.
Right.
He's like hanging out.
He doesn't
How
sound
much
like
of this
he's
can
going to
we,
give. He's not going to give Haiti hope. That's for sure.
No, he could not
turning
wait.
up gurning.
Do you know what, Kate? He could not wait to see the back of me because he could go out for
Of
like
course, yeah.
3 weeks and not have anyone. Do you know what he calls me? Yeah.
Go on.
The fun police. I've never had anyone call me that in my life.
What's going on here? Looks like there's a little bit too much
I'm
fun
like,
going on.
Where are you? It's only 5 o'clock in the morning. Be like, there she is, the old fun police. I just think it's a natural question when you live together to ask when you're going to come home, no, Kate? But no, apparently that was way too intrusive and nagging.
Yeah.
So off we go to the airport. We probably had one eye looking at you, one eye looking for you.
Yeah.
Off we go to the airport, and I'm like, what do you mean I'm going to New York and then Haiti? So anyway, we get on this plane. And we'd had crosswords, and I started to feel quite anxious. And I landed in New York, and because of the time difference, I just couldn't get hold of him, and I didn't really speak to him. And then I had to go to this hotel, and it was really eerie. It was like a hostel, and I was like, I just want to get on the next flight.
I mean, even you staying in a hostel makes me go, really?
Mate, this is the wait till you hear
When
what we
you
stayed in
realise
Haiti.
that where you come, like, it's just insane.
No, it's wild. Right, when I tell you about the floor in Haiti, so. Off we get on the plane, and as the plane's loading from New York to Haiti, you can imagine the type of person that's getting on this plane.
Yeah.
Not very many middle Western white
Did you
people
see
getting
anyone
on the
that
plane.
looked like
I was
you?
the only white person, yeah? Because obviously everyone else was like going home, and anyone with half a mind knew it was a war-torn environment, and no
Yeah.
fucker would go there,
Yeah.
nor would they go alone.
But you haven't done your research, though, at this
No,
point,
but
have
then
you?
I get an email at New York Airport saying, I think it was something like, did you receive booklet 3? Yeah? And I was like, I didn't know there was a booklet 1. Yeah? So anyway, so I've then started trying to download it on the plane. Couldn't do it. I was like, we'll figure it out when we get there. And you come off the plane, and I promise you, like, you're an energy person, I'm an energy person. You can just go, ooh, the minute you land, Kate, it is like chaos.
Oh,
So you
really?
come through, it's not even like a proper airport, it's a room. There's guards like this. And
Oh
I'm
my
talking
gosh.
guns as big as this. No one speaks in it. And they're like, just go through. They're pushing people. Like, because no one's doing anything. And then I'm just seeing like other groups of people. I saw like some groups of people that looked like me gathering, but they were in groups. And I was like, where do I go? What do I do? Obviously, your phone doesn't work. I get my case, and then they open the door. And it's people going, "Rah," screaming there with guns.
Oh my
But obviously,
God.
I've got no signal. So I'm like, where am I going? What am I doing? And I remember, I don't know if you've ever been burgled, yeah? Or you think you're being burgled. It's that
Right.
fear where you're frozen. So
Yeah.
I just could not speak. I couldn't find the ping. I was like, that's it.
Because you're like, how old?
24, 25.
fucking
I was
hell.
like, I'm gonna, like, this is no joke. Like, I know I say it a lot that I'm gonna die, but like, I was, I actually was
I
like,
know it loses its meaning
that
after a
was
while.
it. And at the time, female genital
Oh, yeah, I
mutilation was
know.
massive. So I'd convinced myself as I stood in the luggage area that
They're going to come for my fanny.
they were coming for my fanny, and they were going to mutilate me, and I was going to be found without a labia.
And all you wanted to do was give them hope.
I wanted to do was help. So I went through and I was like, genuinely, Kate, I couldn't even speak.
Oh, dear.
And this bloke comes along, he's like, hey, come with me. And I was like, how do I know I'm not just about to be mutilated? But what was that? Go with him or the bloke with the bigger gun? And he put me in this car and he opened the door because I thought I was getting picked up on the bus. He said, their bus cannot come. So I pick you in the car because he said, you are on your own. I said, yes, I am on my own. And he got me in this car. Kate, I swear, it's called Mission of Hope, anyone that was up to it. They're really good people. I know it doesn't sound like it. And the car had no seat. So it was like, so he had a seat. It was a seat and a gear stick. So the seat had been taken out of the car and it had half a window. So you actually don't have a window.
Yeah, immediately no.
English. And I was like, how far? And he was just going. And I remember being so frozen with fear.
Oh, gosh.
So off we get to the orphanage and we roll up. And by then I couldn't speak, yeah? And I'd got there, I'd managed to get on the Wi-Fi. I'm just emailing the travel agent, like, get me the home. What time can I get back tonight? And he's trying to ring me, but I genuinely can't speak. So they've took me to this room that we're all staying in and they're basically mattresses about this thick.
There's other people here at this point as well.
I've not seen them yet, so as I've arrived.
Okay.
And then to this one, the penny drops. So you've got some that have got bunk bed, like a bunk bed, but I mean, you literally just get a mattress like that. And in the middle of the room, do you know what? I'm going to get some pictures to Jess for this.
Yeah, get some
pictures.
Is
a hole. And above it says, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. And there would be a cup in case you wanted to take a dump. My bed had bed bugs in it.
Did you?
So did I dump in it?
Yeah.
Well, babe, I was there for 2 weeks. You had to dump.
Oh, what? No, for 2 weeks.
In the middle of
that was you had to.
That was our room.
Oh my God.
Yeah. There's no sanitation in Haiti. So anyway, I went to reception because what I'd done is I'd gone to reception.
I was going to say that. Hang on.
I didn't go to reception. I went to the common place.
I went to a desk.
There wasn't even a desk. And I'd gone to Primark thinking, like, I'm here, it's 45-degree heat, like it was roasting. I'm going to buy all of these clothes, right? And I'm going to use them and then donate them to the charity. And I'd bought clothes to give to the children and stuff.
Oh.
So I go along with my bag and now I've changed. So I've got like a little pair of shorts on, T-shirt. 'Cause it's roasting, guys.
Yeah.
And she went to me, where's your skirt? And I was like, what do you mean with my skirt? And she's like, well, what are you going to wear? And I was like, what do you mean it's shorts? Like, we would like, bear in mind we were rebuilding communities and stuff. I said, oh, what do you mean? She said, did you not get the booklet? And I was like, no. She said, do you not get the booklet on attire? And I said,
I feel
no.
like these booklets were quite important, weren't they? These booklets, 1, 2, 3.
They would have been very useful, yeah. And she was like, so what are you going to wear to church? I went, when am I going to church? She went, well, we're going twice today. I went, what do you mean? She went, well, it's Sunday, so we're going to a Haitian service and an American service. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, but we go to church every day. And she was like, and then she said something. She went, excuse me, ma'am, you do know you're on a Christian mission trip, don't you? I was like, she went, where's your Bible? Have you got the New Testament? Where's your Bible? Where's your Bible? But now I'm embarrassed, yeah, because then the groups come through. So what I realised is that everyone had come in groups from their church. So they'd collectively raised the money. And as I don't want to use the word cult, but as a group, they would go and rebuild places. So I was the only person, because no dickhead would go to Haiti on their own, who had been there on their own, which is why the bus never turned up, which is why I was on my own. So I'm now, all these kids have come through. I mean, we still speak now.
Oh.
And they did this tour. There were these Christian kids who did like a tour of the world, and they would just go and live in places like this and help rebuild communities. They were amazing. And they would just talk really God talk. And so we went up, but I'm now quite frozen, so I just kept myself to myself. And obviously I'm getting out of there at this point because I've emailed the travel agent something, just got to wait for him to get up with the time different. I'm going to be out of here. There's got to be an S-Class for me somewhere down at the bottom of the road. I think there's been a huge mistake.
There's been a huge mistake. Daddy's on it now. Daddy's sorting the problem out.
Tick. I've done that bit. I've dipped my toe. I'll tell everyone it was fabulous. I gave them all hope and I'm off home. Guys.
Brogan out.
Yeah.
Brogan out.
It's a no from me, folks. I love my philanthropy, but it's a no from me. So anyway, we go upstairs, okay, and they're like doing like kumbaya. They've got the guitar out, and I
love it. I love it. I wouldn't have minded that bit.
Yeah,
to
so
be
I
fair.
thought they were serial killers. I was like, this is so scary. They're going to kill me. So if I wasn't getting genitally mutilated by the Haitians, I was about to be crucified by the Christians, burnt at the cross because... So then they're all singing, you have to, I love it, it's one of my favourite songs now, but it's Oceans. It's like, Spirit, lead me where my trust is with. So they're all like this, yeah? And like in it, and I'm like, that's it, I'm going to die. This is how I'm going to die.
Just going with it.
But I'm out of here at this point. I genuinely thought I was leaving, Kate.
Oh, right.
And then we get up the next day and I literally cannot talk. I cannot say how bad it is because I was so scared. Like, I think I had PTSD from that last bit of the journey because I was like, I know you laugh, I genuinely thought I was going to die. Like, I couldn't tell you if that car journey, I know it would have been over an hour, but if it was 1 hour or 6, like, imagine there's no, you and the man in no seat. I think I'm getting further and further away from what was the airport that I now felt like could have been safety, but it definitely wasn't. And I can't remember the whole thing, but after a few days, I realised that flights only go like once a week. So I was like, so that's it. Okay, I've just got to do a week. I've just got to get out of here for a week. And what would happen is at the end of every week, the mission trips would change. But I was like, I'm not going all the way to Haiti and spending a week. So I'd already signed up for 3 trips. Yeah? So I was there for 3 weeks. So to put in perspective, I'm going to get out.
We had to bring our
own. Yeah, we had to bring our own food. And have you ever had a canned chicken?
No, I didn't.
Because there's
no
water. There's no water. So everything you had to bring would be like canned chicken. It's the most vile thing that you've ever seen. So obviously, there's no washing machines. There's no safe water. Anyways, the days went by.
No safe water. That's mad, isn't it?
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. We would go into the communities and paint some days. And we've obviously got like paintbrush or whatever. And we said to the kids, come help. Like, do you want to go clean the paintbrush? We were doing another colour. And off he's like, yes, okay, here. And the same water that they were washing the clothes in, that they urinate in, that they drink, that we were washing our paintbrushes in, Kate, is what they drink.
What?
Kate, they put it in there and then... and I was like, so when you look, the children have a massive stomach.
Yes.
Which isn't from malnutrition.
Oh, right, that's growing up. That's what you're told, isn't it?
Yeah, that wasn't from malnutrition. A lot of it was from the waters and stuff as well. And what happened is that obviously I got involved, because I always get involved, and we would go out into these communities and we would get on the back of these trucks and we would help rebuild them. And when you got off the truck, there was destruction that is like, I wouldn't be doing it justice, Kate, by describing it. I know a lot of nowadays we desensitise because there's so much we see, but you get out, and I'll have to attach pictures to this. And if somebody did have somewhere to live, but obviously this will even work, it's the aftermath of the earthquake. So everything shattered. There's still a lot of rubble, a lot of disabled children that were then... I couldn't. They were then outcasted from their community because they couldn't work. Like, a lot of the children are born in these communities to work and serve the parents.
Oh, gosh.
And I remember getting off one day and there's just broken glass everywhere, like in this semicircle. But that's how they would protect their space. So it would just be like so much broken glass. And we would go and give like packets of water, and I have to get pictures, I have to. Like, they'd be the size of your hand, and they would be screaming and shouting for the packets of water.
Oh gosh, don't, I couldn't, honestly.
Then this was one of the most aha moments of my life. We had like Chubba Chub lollies.
I
do you know
know
what
the
I mean?
Chubba Chubs, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, these kids are, say there's 50 kids, yeah? We've got like 10 lollies. And I was like, put the fucking lollies away, yeah? Like, that's not fair. No one's getting a lolly.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were like, no, watch this. They take a lolly, the little boy takes it, they smash it in the dirt so it's black, and they will take one tiny fraction.
Oh, God.
And these kids had the most amount of joy I had ever seen, Kate.
Oh, damn.
And I was like, how can I override, or how can I understand? How can you find so much joy in that? And it took me back to like, this is what it all must be about. And I don't mean it in the simplest things, but we get so, like, we've spoken about it before, like the overconsumption of things, this need to be this, to be that. And we started to watch these sunsets as well. And I never appreciated sunset. And I used to watch sunrise and sunset on my way to work, over this bridge, because that would be the times I would cross. Never once did I stop and think, how amazing. I used to think, right, I've got 3 minutes left to get down. And I took so much of my life for granted in a need to go and chase this destination or this island to feel that I was enough. And I met these group of people, obviously, so I never told anyone I wasn't a Christian. Yeah.
So I think they knew.
Well, obviously they worked it out, yeah? So like, they come up to me, the girls, and like, we need a chat. And I was like, yeah. And they were like,
do we?
We all know you're in the wrong place. And I was like, she's like, but they wanted to introduce me to the faith, yeah? So, so we were chatting, and they were very religious, biblical people, which like, so I mean, okay, we would pray up to like 10 times a day. Like, we'd pray, but what would annoy me is like, we'd pray over our food, we'd pray over that. And I think, I'm talking like men that were like probably 35 stone praying over this. And I'm like, you're not praying for that to feed you, because if you were praying for the right thing, it would frustrate me. I'm like, I don't get it. You're praying over your food when you need to go and eat a banana, not a taco. Do you know what I mean? I'm just, and then I started having beef with it, because I was like, you guys are praying for it, and maybe it was a personal thing. I was like, you're praying a lot, but I don't feel that each prayer can be as meaningful.
It's
I
not
felt
meaning
like it was
anything.
box ticking. And she's like, we all know you're in the wrong place. And so we were talking to her, and I wanted to, like I do in everything that I do, I was curious. I wanted to understand how she felt about afterlife. I was like, so I'm not a non-believer, but it was the first time in my life that I realised that whatever it is that is above and below me and walks alongside me every day, that I acknowledged it, because it was in those children, Kate. It was in those sunsets. It was in the hope. It was in the love, and it was in the most rawest form. And it was something that you could not see or hold, but you could feel.
And what are you calling that? What are you calling that?
Oh, it's like the highs. It's
source? Would you say that? Source, universe? Like that, that, I know like Christians call it God, don't they? But for people that aren't religious, would you?
I think the universe, when I think of the universe, I think of this thing that we see, and I think it's got so much depth to it. So I'd never really get the universe. I think like when we talk about the planets, the stars, and I feel like it's so much expansive after that. So for me, I also think it's so much grander that I don't know what it is, but I think source is probably a great term.
Yeah.
It's like the all-powering, all-loving thing. And I said to her, so when I die, do you believe that I'm going to hell because I'm a non-believer? And she said, I've grappled with this my whole life, but yes. And I said, so what about we used to go and work in the remote villages up in the rainforest. And I said, what about the boy who's never been exposed to the Bible? He's had an unfair chance. So do you believe that he will go to hell? Because I struggle with that. And she said, yeah, unfortunately, this is what we're taught. And, it was a learning curve back and forth. And then they started to pray for me publicly. So when I got outed at dinner, they would be like, stand up and like, everyone, Brogan's here on her own, let's pray that she comes. And I was like, oh my God, I just want to die. I just want to die. But one day I went out with the medical team, and because obviously I've been there a long time by this point, do you know what I mean? And we went up into one of the indigenous remote villages. I couldn't tell you how long it took us to get there. And what would happen is these people hadn't seen any healthcare professionals, if at any point on their whole life. And okay, to put it in perspective with like how archaic and indigenous this is that women give birth on banana leaves. Yeah, so there's no medical care. So
no.
Then the baby comes with the banana leaves. The likelihood is they rip. Yeah, like all people during labour, that doesn't get seen to. They then get an infection because of the banana leaves or the lack of hygiene. They've never seen loo paper. Guys, it's so indescribable. So what I would do is, because I'm definitely not medically trained, I know I'm a fraud on that front, guys, but I definitely didn't pretend to be a medic. But I want to go and see these people. So I would be in charge. So when they came in, and this is again like how I had a measuring tape, and I would measure the circumference of their arm, weigh them. So we had some kind of like rough BMI of what people were coming in at, and then they'd go down the queue. And this woman's coming along, and I'm sitting there, and she's got this baby, but the baby's like sweating and it's asleep. And she's like, like slapping the baby, but the baby's very disorientated. And I thought the baby was asleep. And she was looking at me, and I was like, oh, just leave it. But then I looked, and it was sweating. I was like, this doesn't make sense. And then she's gone like that with the cover.
Malaria.
No. So they have a communal oil pot in most houses. And what had happened is the oil pot had fell, and it had gone on this baby's, I say baby, now I'm a mum, it's probably about 18 months, 2 years. It had fallen on this arm, and the blister, Kate, was from the top of his arm all the way past his fingers to the point you could not see his fingers.
Oh, fucking hell.
This had happened 3 days ago. Yeah, this wasn't new. So the baby was in, this had no pain relief. It's in and out.
Oh, my God.
So I waved to the doctor, because you've never seen anything. Like, go and Google what is it called, a burn blister, but it's the whole arm because obviously it was boiling oil. And the doctor come over and he was like, "Oh, good job." He's like, "How are you with noise?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" So it still makes me itch. I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "We're gonna have to do a scrub burn." And obviously we've got no pain relief, so they had to imagine sandpaper.
Oh my God, are you joking?
While we held it down.
Oh my God.
It was the most barbaric, painful, eye-opening experience of my life.
Now you've had children, do you reckon you could actually ever do that again? Because when you have kids, don't you think so much changes? Like do you think
the paedophile stuff, you can't unsee it?
No, I know. Oh my God.
And I had to go outside because I was like, I can't. The screams.
Oh, don't. Yeah, that's what I couldn't.
And he came out and he was like, "Look, we might have to amputate his arm because and the likelihood this child probably is going to die now because of the infection." Like so Port-au-Prince is the main town and they've got no way getting there. Like, we're up in an indigenous rainforest, and you can't fit 2 people on the moped, and whatnot. And unfortunately, this happens a lot. And he said, "We're going to have to amputate the arm." And I was like, "Surely we can get them to Port-au-Prince, we can get them to a hospital." And they're like, "Yeah, but who's paying for that?" And I just immediately, I was like, "Me." And he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, what does it cost? Whatever it costs, we're going to save his arm." Yeah. He's like, "I can't promise you that." But cut long story short, they were like, "Oh my God," like I was the nicest person in the world. Everyone was, I was like, "Why are you all clapping me?" I thought, "Oh my God, please don't. This is the least thing I can do."
Hope. That's
why I did my job. Right. So now, this is the worst bit, right? It's not the worst, it's quite funny though. So the mum can't go with the child because you all can't fit on the moped. So a stranger has got this 2-year-old in his arm in like a 2-hour scooter journey with no pain relief. He's just been burned down this mountain. I never managed to find out what happened in the end. But as we stepped outside, the doctor, who doesn't know that I'm a fraud, obviously, at this point, so we all stood round to pray for the baby. And he's like, "And Brogan's going to lead this prayer."
Oh my God!
So there's a room full of people. And I was like,
"Dear God."
Yeah, I was like, "Oh," and I cannot remember but I was like, "No," and he was like, "No, you are. You're going to lead this prayer because you," and I was like, and I cannot.
"You're one of us now, Brogan." Okay.
I cannot remember what I said, but I promise you, right? And if anyone,
it just came to me.
Mate, it came to me. It was like God spoke to me. It was like, whatever I'd said, like about
it was the best goddamn prayer they'd ever heard.
Not that people start crying, and I was like, "Fucking hell, maybe I'll be a priest. Maybe that's the there I was looking for."
That's the goal, isn't it? To make people cry. To make people cry, and you fucking did it, Brogan.
Oh my God. But yeah, it's just a profound, eye-opening experience that made me open. And I think spirituality is such a loose term, but it opened my eyes to the things that are untangible and the things that guide us, and that there being something above me and below me and alongside me that's way more powerful than I am.
Yeah.
That is always guiding me towards the greatest good. And I ended up extending that trip. I ended up staying. I ended up working with the orphan. There's loads of stories like that. And I came back and my boyfriend was off the nut, forgot to pick me up from the airport. 2-hour trip, and he got me in the car. And I found messages to girls on his phone, and then that was the end. It was like a blessing.
Oh, what a
obviously, I was heartbroken at the time, guys. I don't play it down. I was like devastated.
No, the universe did you the biggest favour then.
Oh my God.
The biggest.
I did get back with him, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But we're not with him now. But I like to learn a lesson the hard way. And then I just went off travelling, and I travelled around Southeast Asia. I did all this amazing stuff with my sister, and I hated it.
Oh.
Yeah, I hated it because I was so upset about what I was going through. I couldn't be present. I felt like I wanted to be at home. I felt out of control. I robbed myself of so many opportunities.
Where did that stem? Why? What, was there something going on at home?
Because I think I was still upset about the boyfriend.
You were still in love with him, heartbreak.
So he was trying to talk to me, and I was being thought, I'm going to make you suffer. So I'm just never going to speak to you again. And then you've gone from being with someone like 2-3 years living together, Kate, and not even saying goodbye.
Yeah,
and then I was like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna go travelling and make you And I didn't get my goodbye. I didn't get my answers, and he was trying to speak to me before, and
you just didn't have that closure of moving on and going away. It was still like that. Open
I was doing
wound.
it more like fuck you, because if I stay here, I probably would have got back with him.
Yeah.
And then I came during that. I had started my clothing company, and I had a clothing company, which is actually quite another
Clothing company.
I used to sell like bespoke leather trousers and jackets.
Oh, hang on, no, I remember this. What the glasses?
Yeah, right, that's the sunglasses.
That's
you're talking about the
Ibiza
yeah,
sunglasses.
you're talking about the what are they called? The RSPCA that started on me.
What?
Oh, my mate was like, so we started on Instagram. So I had this like leather and fur company, and she was like, you know what you should do? You should start following.
Stick with
people.
it, everyone. Okay, I know we're going from story to story. But honestly, stick with it.
So I come back and I just started designing clothes. Yeah. And my friend said, what you should do is start following the followers that follow similar brands.
Yeah.
So that someone that would follow Joseph.
Marketing 101.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So off I went and I would look on people who were commenting on a similar brand's page, yeah? So I went on this fur company and I was seeing who's commenting, so I thought they'd be of interest. And this, my friend was in marketing, she told me this what to do.
Yeah.
So I've done that and I'm in the bath and then I go, I thought, fucking hell. So the phone went wild, yeah? And I was like, what's happened here? So I've gone and had a look and they've all tagged me, get on this dickhead. So I've actually started following like PETA. So when I said, and they're like, look at this dickhead, like doing an emoji, and Walter had the cheek to follow up. And then they've started a forum, like, about to like campaign to block my account because obviously they were protecting.
You're going against everything they're standing for.
So I was like, oh my God, I can't do this Instagram thing. I was honestly...
that's enough internet for today,
my mate was like, you need to really look at who you're following. Yeah. So I did that, and then that was quite seasonal. And my friend and I went to the Philippines, and kind of from there, I had this idea about sunglasses, and I'd seen them in a bar in Austria, and they were like these glasses, but they had a battery pack, and they'd light up, and they were like spectacles. And I was like, how cool if you can make them into like cordless framed ones. Anyway,
and you did.
I did, yeah.
I went
to
did.
China.
You went
on my own. No one spoke English. My mate went, what are you doing? I went, no, I can't keep talking to her on WhatsApp. She don't get it.
It's annoying. I'm going to go and see her.
Who knew as well that you needed a Chinese visa? So I'm like in the back of this transit, like, just put me underneath. Like, oh, man, we can't smuggle you. So I basically, what is it? What they called?
I didn't know you needed a visa to go there. So
a big one takes weeks. And off we went, and I got introduced to the guys that owned Ushuaia, right? So I'd gone to him with this idea, and I know he was really into like people being resilient and perseverant. So I was like, I'm going to sleep outside of his office. Okay. And my mate was like, it's a little bit creepy. So in Ibiza, obviously, no one gets into the office till like 10. But I was like, so what? I'll sleep there from like 6 till 10. I'm not going to do the whole night. I'm not going to do it all night. He's not going to be there at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Anyway, by the time he comes, we got sat by a friend, and he was like, I really love your idea. I love your concept. But he was opening High Ibiza, which was a new nightclub. But he was like, so I said, look, with the way we dressed up, we had this amazing marketing pack. The girls would go around, very good looking girls in basically hot pants, selling sunglasses to drunk, vulnerable men.
Yeah.
And he was like, I love it, but for me, this is a business within a business. So like their main money is obviously the entertainment and the alcohol. He's like, I don't see how this is going to work for me. And I was like, oh, well, look, we'll just have our girls run round. And he was like, yeah, fine. So again, like obviously wishing I'd go back, but obviously you can't change anything. I should have got a contract, but I never got a contract. But we were looking at serving between 15,000 people a day. So we said, let's start off with 10,000 pairs of sunglasses. So off we go to Ibiza. A few months later, get ready. Like we've got an apartment. We've got to try and find girls to work for us. The night before we're meant to launch, he says no.
Wow.
So I'm stuck on an island, over 100 grand in debt, with 10,000 pairs of light up sunglasses. Yeah? So what do you do?
Tell me what you did, please.
Started paying drug dealers to sell them on street corners. This is a true story. Me and
is
my
that the
mate,
looky men?
Because we were like,
we'll just keep
we're just going to keep the concept because people loved it. So we'd literally stand outside in San Antonio and be like, do you want to buy? Because we've got to start somewhere. We want to buy our glasses. And people are so rude and disrespectful to you. Like, we used to get heckled all the time. Like, you're nothing but a looky seller. Because people were drunk and off their nut as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that went on for a few months. We were like really tiring and taxing. So we were just on the streets trying to sell sunglasses. And I had the most amazing, she was my best mate and business partner. And she met someone who was like, do you want to come to this bar restaurant? And we just love the concept, and you can just go round. It was called Heart, and you can just sell them. And we were like, okay, but it was a really expensive restaurant.
Right.
So they have a show during dinner, and then it goes into the nightclub. So they were like, so at the end of the show, why don't you walk in?
Okay.
Mate, we got flogged.
Oh, really?
One guy gave me €1,000, for 10 pairs because all I had left. He was like they were like the super elite in this nightclub.
Wow.
We met Christina Aguilera, Paris Hilton, Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm gonna have to go on the Instagram page. Like Eric Murillo, who I ended up becoming quite friendly with. They're like the Martinez brothers. So we met all. So we became, because that's where all the cool people went to this dinner. They weren't in like the massive nightclubs, and eventually we started selling them, and we were living our best life, and it was amazing. We didn't sell them all. We went back the next year, but by then the novelty had worn off. My friend, she was in a relationship. We were a bit bored of it.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I did meet my son's dad as I was out
Oh, is
selling
that where
sunglasses.
you met him?
Yeah.
Oh, because I was going to get
out.
to you being a mum.
Yeah, I met him out selling sunglasses.
Okay, he knew
And
he knew a classy boy at Burger
he
when he
tried
saw
to
one.
barter me. And then, obviously, now he
That
knows.
should have been your first red flag.
Now knowing what I know, and he said, oh, when it came out after, I was like, was that your girlfriend? He's like, no, it's my mate's cousin. I don't believe that was the case. So many red flags. But yeah. So off the back, I went to London, and shortly after we started our relationship, and then it got into COVID. So I was like,
Okay, so we're 2020 now, yeah?
Yeah, I was so yearning for this family unit that I'd never had. I was like, so this makes sense. He's safe. I thought he's secure. He's older. Like he was just turning 40. I was 29, 28. He'd like done his shit. So that's what I thought I needed. Someone who's like done their shit.
Yeah.
They were older. He
grown
was,
out of that sort of party boy.
I thought he's just starting to rebuild his life in London, and I thought he was like a safe bet. And I thought this is the next bit. This is the next bit in getting there. This is what I should do. I should settle down. And we didn't really know each other. If I look back.
No, I've had one of those relationships.
Yeah, because then it's all of a sudden lockdown, you live together and there's no escaping. You see everyone for who they are.
And it's very intense and very,
Yeah, and I got pregnant at the beginning of COVID, and that whole 9 months of figuring out who someone is. Like, I remember going to give birth to my son, and I genuinely was like, I'm just going to do this on my own because you're so annoying. Like, I just didn't want him in the room. Like the fact he was breathing, irritating.
Yeah.
But I remember him starting on me, on the way there, and loads of stuff were going on. And anyway, I'd so yearned for this family that I ignored every sign in my life.
So how long were you together before you fell pregnant?
A year and a bit.
Okay, a year and a bit.
But in that year and a bit, he lived there, I lived.
And also in that first year, even the first 2 years, you're still in that very much fairy tale.
So we'd go meet on a Friday night. I didn't know he was out drinking in the week all the time. I didn't know all this stuff.
Right,
So I just thought, I don't know. And I'm not one of these people, because I'd learned my lesson from being the fun police. Like, where are you? What are you doing? Maybe I need to be a little bit more fun police. I don't know. I feel like I can't win.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
And then I remember feeling, after having my son, really distressed.
Are you still together at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I just remember feeling, I had this awful, the first 3 weeks, Kate was like, someone put the rope around my neck. I couldn't breathe. I know this sounds crazy, guys, but I was so convinced he was going to die. I was like, I remember it getting...
Henry,
yeah.
Yeah.
So he was born on the 20th of December. It was my 30th on the 27th. And my mum was like, are you okay? And I could not breathe. I was like, I can't believe he's alive. Like, in my head, I'd convinced myself that I was so incapable, Kate, like that he was just going to die. Honestly. And it's like a really frightening... Like, I would drive and I'd be like, so frightened of something happening, and I lived in this fear for a bit. And I think it's maybe, I don't say I had bad labour, but I was up for a bit. I think I was overtired, I was overstimulated. We were in this really small flat, and I was overtired. I was adamant to breastfeed. It didn't work for me. I've got tubular breast. There's no actual milk coming out, but I was convinced it was going to work. So I was feeding like every 45 minutes. But like, this is like, so he was in my flat and he was snoring ridiculously, and just this tiny room, right? Me, the baby, and his dad. And I was like, right, you need to get out. I can't sleep. Like, you're snoring. And it's like, what, 20, probably Christmas Day or whatever, that kind of time frame. And he's like, no, you can get out. So I would sleep on the sofa, Kate. And I remember once he got up to get something out of the fridge, and I was so cold that I had a blanket all the way on me, yeah? that he sat on me because I squealed because he didn't realise it was me. He was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm freezing. Just had your son, but I'm freezing my nuts off."
God.
On this, but there's just things that I thought were normal. I think I was just like functioning, and I just so wanted this family, and over the 10 months after that, I ignored again so many red flags that, listen, I'm not saying he's a bad person. He's not for me. There's a reason we're not together. We view life completely different, like even down to the vaccines and stuff.
Yeah.
I never wanted to vaccinate my son, but I also felt really uneducated in that. Like if I wasn't going to vaccinate my son, I wanted to wax lyrical to you about why I was unvaccinating my son.
Yeah, of course.
And I felt that I didn't have time to do that. And I also felt shame, like obviously being as nervous as I was, like what if something happened to him? So he did have I think he had his first set and a little bit of the next one. But I overrode my gut and so many things that I wanted to do because of what everyone else thought was right. Like if I could go back now, but I think there's a reason you can't go back. I would do so much stuff differently. And I remember Googling the night before we split up, how long should you stay in a relationship unhappy?
Oh, gosh.
And I remember feeling like sick because I was like, right, okay, so he's not cheating on me. Yeah. What, if I go and talk to you, Kate, now for lunch, what can I say? I'm just so unhappy. I can't breathe. Like what, I couldn't articulate. Again, but this is overriding your gut. Like, you're just not happy.
Yeah,
like, you're
that's okay. That's a reason on its own.
And he was like, you've got postnatal depression. And I was like, nah.
You know.
And I felt like I need something to happen. Anyway, something did happen. I saw some stuff on his phone and off I went. Never cried a tear. But the worst bit was the 10 months in the lead up to that. And the biggest lesson in that is, like what you said, my life was meant to look like this. So I thought I have to say this is what it's meant to look like. But it didn't feel how it was meant to feel like. So my biggest lesson, and to anyone that's listening, is that trust what life's meant to feel like, not what we're conditioned into what it should look like.
Exactly that.
But that was still challenging. No, I went back to my sisters and I just remember being like, not even about him, but where do I go? What do I do? I'd spent my whole life yearning for this family and a chance to have what I felt that I never had. And then now I just had a baby and I had a baby on my own and I didn't really know what the fuck I was meant to do. And I was so scared of messing him up.
And it's so far from what you thought your life was going to be. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
that sometimes we map it out and go, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have it. And then when life doesn't go that way, you think, oh, I failed. But what if the plan was all wrong? And what you're doing now is what you should be doing and how you should be living. And sometimes I think we give ourselves a hard time by putting too much pressure on this certain path that we've got to follow. But you're now how old at this stage now?
31.
31. And how old's Henry?
Just about to turn one.
Right.
When we split up, roughly about then.
Okay, so now you're a single mum with Henry.
Living in my sister's.
Oh, you're living at your sister's now?
He wouldn't get out the flat. So me and Henry had nowhere to live for 3 months.
God.
So we were at my sister's, and which was a saving grace, though, because when I look back, I needed to be held.
Yeah.
And she's amazing.
Yeah.
But it says more about that person or whatever, do you know what I mean? So it was that, and it's also like you're in someone else's space. Like there were times I wanted to cry, there's times I wanted to, and I didn't want to be a burden to her. But you know, you must have had it in life, and I think us women have it a lot. It's that overriding, just like sickness. Like what next? Like what am I meant to do? And I'm
feeling
so
lost. I always put it down to lost.
And like, just what's it like to be sleep deprived? Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, it makes
no
everything
one
a
fed
million
my
times.
Son, apart from me, for like over a year.
Yeah.
I was fucked.
Yeah, I bet.
And it's like, that is the worst case of like Chinese torture, isn't it, Kate?
Sleep deprivation is absolutely
it was awful. And then I made the stupid mistake of getting back with the first boyfriend that broke up my heart from Haiti.
The Haiti boy.
Yeah.
God.
Like 2 weeks after splitting up from Henry's dad, I was like, I know what we need. We need a little bit of fun here. Anyway, and I got back with him, and he was like, "You're not the same." And I took that like I should be the same. And I was like, "Okay, so you're just not the same as like you were before." And like now,
well, he was saying it like in a detrimental way.
Yeah. But I'm like now. So he was like, it's not the same. You're not the same. Blah blah blah. Thank God. I shouldn't be the same after all those experiences.
No.
Like, Kate, so many people have said that to me in their life. Like, you're not the old Brogan. I hope so, Kate. I hope I am not the Brogan I was. last week. I hope I've learned. I hope I continue to grow. And
of course,
when you're growing and you're moving and you're changing and your experience of all the life that has to offer, some people want to keep you there.
Some people don't like it because what it does is it highlights the fact that they're not moving forward, that they're stagnant, their life's not going anywhere. Do you know what I mean? They're staying the same. And it doesn't matter if they're your family, your friends, people that have known you all your life and loved you, that you'd assume would want the best and would love to see you flourish. People don't like it. Some people do not like it. No, they don't.
Like even like, I still get it now, not as bad because I think people have learned, I've had to really learn to cut off even if it comes to the podcast. Oh, you shouldn't have said that. And I think, why? What? Go away.
Leave me alone.
Oh, why can't I say what I want to say? It's my show.
Yeah,
the one thing I can, the one space I can say what I want to do and do what I want to do. Like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Says who?
Is that Jesse behind there? Is it him? Is it coming from him? I can't see anything.
Sometimes
are they trying to control you?
No, there was a couple of bits for the stuff with Dan Wood and I walked out and they both went to me, just so you know, we're going to have to edit that because you will get cancelled. And I was like, let them cancel me.
My true fans will be here forever.
Yeah. I was like, but even that's weird, Kate.
What?
Like, people being so kind.
Just saw his head
and
pop through.
So nice to me. Like, I love you. I love your work. I'm like, what? Like,
who's that? Oh, it's him again.
James. Or, which is really weird now, by the way, or getting recognised, or people send me these lovely long messages and I'm like, what? And it's just from me being me.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
I told you.
All the 10 years that I spent trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to be corporate, like, and just being everyone else that I thought I should, everyone else's version of what I thought I should be.
You've probably achieved now and done more and had more happiness all the time you've been like yourself in that short amount of time compared to all those years of trying to be whatever you thought everyone wanted you to be. Do you know what I mean?
But I think
and
it's
not getting anywhere with it,
isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's so hard to understand. It's like, what do you mean I should fucking be me? But I mean, you should, like, not in a detrimental way, like say what you want, be aggressive and all that, but like, you should follow the nudges that are in your heart, the things that are pulling you, because so often, I think we said this before, is that we're like, oh, well, what does that mean? Well, I like painting, so does that mean I want to be a painter? I should give up my job. And we get so fixated with the
chill
outcome.
The fuck out. Just
chill.
Out.
But just explore that. Follow the things that bring you joy. When I look back, I've always loved chatting to people.
Yeah.
I've always had a huge amount of empathy for people. I've always wanted to fix people. And oh yeah, we didn't talk about the Hoffman process.
Oh, do you know what? I was actually going to fucking bring that up. I was going to bring,
because we need. How did the podcast start? Yeah.
Yeah, we need to hear about it. Is it rehab? Is that what you'd call it? Is it? No, have I got it wrong? Sorry.
People call it self-development. No. Stop.
Remember that time you went to self-development?
Yeah. Do you remember that time you went to rehab?
Right, hang on. So how old are you now then? This is before Henry, isn't it?
No, after Henry.
After.
So after Henry, because I was annoyed, right? So I was like, I'm meant to have all the things that I want, and
of
I
course,
felt really.
everybody is, by the way. This isn't.
Okay, I split with his dad, but I've still got my son. So my whole life, I've spent my life chasing this there, and I was like, I've got it. The final fucking things. I'm going to be a mum, because then no one can take that away, right?
No.
That's mine. Yeah, and I've always wanted to have this family unit, and so the family part got took away, but I still had my son.
Yeah.
And this is quite hard to say, but I was still very unfulfilled. And I felt guilty in saying that, and I felt shamed, and I wanted to do more. I wanted to like get back to work or do something. And
that's okay.
I wasn't made to feel like that. That was okay with the people I was surrounded by at the time.
Oh, right.
Like, yeah. So that was.
They think, what, because you've had a child, that should be it. That should be you fulfilled now, and that happiness. Right, okay.
What are you whinging about? You didn't like him anyway. And it's like, it wasn't that. My life really sat at Fork Road. But coming back from Ibiza, I had a couple of family issues, and I ended up finally taking the leap into going into therapy, because I'd had a very dysfunctional...
Therapy, that's it, not rehab.
Yeah. A very dysfunctional, chaotic, neglectful childhood, whereby obviously I'd seen a lot of people in a lot of pain, and a lot of friends of mine I'd heard and stuff had gone and done this thing called the Hoffman process, right?
Yeah.
And it sounded so exciting and suspicious, like you have to sign an NDA to get in there. You can only do it once in your life. Oprah's done it, Brad Pitt's done it, this one's done it, that one's done it. And a couple of friends of mine had done it, and you're not allowed to say what goes on in the room, right? Because that's the whole point, because you ruin the experience for someone else. And my friend had done it.
Can you say now though?
I'll say I can say
You
little
can
bits.
take right, so people will know
But
if they've
anyone
never
that's
heard
thinking
of
about
it.
going, maybe don't listen to this bit.
Don't-
But there
yeah,
are
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
out there on the internet if you want to go and look at it. But my advice would be don't go and look at it because you probably won't do it. The
Your
same
advice
thing,
it would always be just just
don't
go
look.
with it.
But like
Just go with it.
sometimes I got there and I was like, this is a little bit crazy. I'm crazy, but this is like a little bit fucking crazy. And and for ages I had tried to do the Hoffman, and now what it does is the homework is about 9 to 12 hours long. It's this thick, Kate, and it's all on your childhood. But
Is this before you go there?
Yeah, before you go, you have to fill out all the homework.
Right, so,
they
okay,
have to
this
know
is-
everything about you.
Right, okay,
so
got
you
it,
go and
got
stay
it.
in this house with 22 strangers, no watch, no clocks, no phones, no outside interruption. You stay in a house, you're not allowed to run.
How long for?
You're not allowed to walk 8 days.
How much does it cost? I'm just intrigued.
£2,500.
Okay,
And
okay.
that's your accommodation,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
food,
okay. I thought
and
it was gonna be
obviously
more than
7
that.
hours of therapy, yeah? 7 days of therapy, 8 days therapy back to back. I mean, you start at 7 o'clock in the morning and you finish at 9 o'clock at night. Like, you are fucked.
Right.
Um,
Is that therapy from 7 in the morning till like
kind of. It's like group work.
Right, okay.
So basically their premise is, and I do believe this, is that basically all of your patterns and your subconscious is formed when you're a child. So
before the age of 7, isn't it? I
before
believe.
the age of
yeah.
7. This kind of thing we talk about. So what you might have thought that wasn't relevant that happened in your early years is actually really fucking relevant.
It's
right?
programmed you probably for the rest of your life. That's 7 years, isn't it? Of just
so if you grow
recording.
up with a parent that's got a scarcity mindset, like we don't have enough, we can't afford the bus, we can't do, you are going to grow up with that until we look at it like an onion, right? And you peel back the layers. So interestingly, one of my revelations on the Hoffman was every time I go to my dad's house, I could never sunbathe. Yeah, he has got this house in Spain.
Oh, you told me that 'cause it's
Yeah.
relaxing, isn't it? It was that
Well,
you
because
had
I
an
was
issue.
like, well, what am I doing? I'm doing nothing. I'm not achieving. I'm not moving. I'm not doing. So I would never sunbathe or
Yeah.
anywhere near him. Because I'm like, what if he thinks I'm not enough?
A lazy bitch.
Yeah,
Get
even
up,
though
you
it's
fucking
not,
lazy bitch.
Like, obviously, it's not the case. But I would have this internal monologue of like, I've got to do that. So we realised that our internal monologue is basically created when we're children, and it's so important.
Our programming.
Our programming. And the voice that talks to you, your inner critic.
Yeah.
It will be the voice, Kate, that will go to you, like as you walk past the mirror, you fat bitch. Or look at that chin.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
that our ego? When they talk about ego as well, do they talk about? Is that?
Yeah, ego is more like what drives you to do something. Or
Right.
sometimes the way, your shadow self. So it's a bit similar to the inner critic. But listen, it's the dark, we all have it. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So I don't want anyone to think that you're going to go on this course and never give yourself a negative thought, because that is not fucking true.
No.
But it's about learning what you amplify and what serves you.
Yes.
That's been a big lesson. So a lot of my friends have gone, I had a car accident when I was about 15 and I couldn't remember anything before that. So I knew what school I went to. I couldn't tell you where my desk was. I knew mentally that my friends' names, but I couldn't tell you like stuff like where a classroom was or a pencil case. Like, the stuff I knew intuitively. Like I went to Chigwell School, but I couldn't remember a lot. So for that reason, for many years, I couldn't fill out the paperwork. And then I was been in therapy for a little while, and I was like, I really want to do the Hoffman process. And she's like to me, you're chasing something that we're kind of doing in this room. And I was like, no, I've heard it. Like, this is my fucking Everest. Yeah, I'm going to do this Hoffman process. And she had done it herself.
Because you thought it was going to fix you?
Babe, it was going to save me. It was 7 days.
Of course it was. Of course
it was
was.
$2,500. Everyone was getting the Hoffman high. I was going to be
Boom,
7
complete
days,
it.
Felicia. I was like Carol Vorderman out of Countdown. I'm like, I'm off, baby. So off we... So anyway,
Say goodbye to the old me.
so I start filling in the homework, right? But I was like, fucking, I can lie. Who's checking this? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, what happened?
You've fallen at the first
My parents
Brogan.
would probably be like, that didn't happen. But I just had to put something to paper. So God knows what they read. And I ended up sharing a room that was traumatic enough in itself because... I don't know if I can say these bits, but anyway.
Say it. Don't let them control you out there.
No, because there was periods of silence, and I obviously don't do well in silence. So I thought, when we get back to the room, like you and I can have a chat, and it'd be like to me. And I was like, what? And she was a
Tell
vegan.
them
and
how
not,
strict
not
they
that
are
any,
here.
not that anything's wrong with vegans, but she would get up in the morning and just start hugging stuff. But obviously, I'm like, you all right, love? She's like, and she'd done this mad contortion stuff. And I was just like, oh. But so what she would do, she'd only shower once a day, but she had to feel the raindrops. So she took, and a really odd number, it's a true story. She took a 45-minute shower in order for her cells to absorb the water and for her to feel the energy of the shower. But I'm just sitting there like, I need to go to the toilet.
Hurry up, love.
And we had to... I'm probably end up doing a cat slick at this rate. But it was so interesting. So, again, I didn't read the... Oh, do you know what? The more this shows up, I didn't read the booklet, but we'll get to that bit in a minute.
Story of your life.
Yeah. Anyway, The moral of the story is, I don't want to ruin it for anyone, you go and focus on you realise what are your thoughts and what are your parents' thoughts or your caregivers, and we try and rewire them, and at the end you decide how you want to live your life.
Yes.
Do you want to go on the left road? So what does that look like? The life that you're living now, yeah? Or do you want to go on the right road, which is like you can do anything, you can be anything, and what does that look like? Nothing's out of reach. So
yeah. See, I like the concept behind it all.
It really worked. So like then they were like, right, now go kill yourselves. This is a bit. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, so if you were going to die now, living in the left road, so that you're on grounds, guys. They're like, go outside, take a bin bag. Obviously, not kill yourself, folks. Before I get fucking abused, go and take a bin bag and lie down make yourself a grave. Do you think people will think I'm lying?
I just think at this point I would be like, they're taking the fucking piss.
No, mate. So they were like, go and lay down, yeah? Go and make a grave and imagine you're dead in your coffin.
You paid $2.5 grand for this as well.
Right? So they're like, what would people say? Your eulogy. So I had was laying there like my
What did you have to do your eulogy as well?
No, imagine what they'd say. So I had there like my ex-boyfriends. I was speaking to
fun police.
She was the fun police. She took all fun out of my life.
And that's all you need to know about Brogan.
Listen, I'm like dying, yes? I'm dead now.
Of course, yeah. Go back to you dying.
What? It's like a reptile or a snake, yeah? So I was mid-eulogy.
I was mid-dying.
I was being buried, so I've jumped up. So bearing in mind, in the grounds, everyone else is like peacefully dead. I've jumped up with my back bag. So I've had to go and bury myself again, yeah?
Oh, the shame of having to do it
I was like
again.
this with my... what's it? Snow White, the Seven Dwarfs, like that. And you've got a rose as well, because people would put flowers on you. So I was like, I'm not dying near a ditch again. I was going to the centre of the field. So as you walk through, everyone is lying like this with their rose peacefully dead. But I'm fucked off dead.
Yeah, I'm annoyed.
Fucking missing petals. I'm going over here to die again. I was like, guys, had to die twice, don't worry.
Were you commentating it like this the whole time as well?
Well, I was doing a lot of puffs so people knew that I
was annoyed.
What's it called what did Jesus do? He got rebirthed, uprisen?
Oh, reincarnated.
So I knew, I wanted them to know I've been reincarnated.
Everyone has to know.
And then like, when we went after, everyone's like, what happened to you, Brogan? I was like, I had to die twice, didn't I? Fucking my luck, isn't it?
I'm kind of a big deal.
The old snake chronicle.
You know how it goes. So now,
I'm dead. So anyway, when you leave that place, they're like, if you could do anything and you could be anything, what would it be? And I was like, what I came to learn in those rooms, Kate, is that you see a lot of people in a lot of pain, yeah?
Right.
And because you shared experience, I mean, like, rape, traumas, abuse, like, everyone's got their shit.
Yeah.
And what I came to learn in those rooms is that I was very, very good at holding people, making them feel safe, seen, heard, loved. And I knew that I could do that. And going in there, I thought everyone was getting to the same place as me, the same place that the map of the world we've been given, right? Yeah. And I came to learn that everyone's journey of there was so totally different. And I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, well, what do you mean? Where are you going then? Where are you headed? What insightful information could you leave behind? So when I left there, I was like, I'm going to start giving inspirational talks to people. And I got out there and I called my dad. It was my first phone call. And obviously they're like, now she should be fixed. It's been 7 days.
You told everyone, didn't you?
So I rang them. I was like, I'm off. Obviously, when I come back, I'm going to be reborn. And he's like, how'd it go? I was like, Dad, I've decided what I'm doing in my life. I'm going to be an inspirational talker. And he went... But obviously, I've got the Huffman.
Yeah, you're in a different headspace.
I was like, what do you mean?
What's the fucking joke, Dad?
Yeah, and he was like, Brogan. Like, bless him. Yeah. What mountains have you climbed? What money have you made? Who is going to fucking...
Where's this inspiration coming?
Who's going to fucking pay to hear you talk? But obviously, so I'd learned from the teacher that was his patterning. So I was like...
Did you tell him that?
So I said, just so you know, that is your patterning, and I will not let... So I I said, that is your patterning, and I've undone your patterning voice from my head. So I'm going to continue on my journey of inspirational talks.
La, 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 la.
So then this, I shit you not, my sister came back. I got my son's teddy bears and I used to row them up on the sofa. And I made a script and I would talk to the teddy bears, like, because I was going to talk in an arena and inspire.
You needed to practice.
Because it was weird looking in the mirror, so I got the teddy bears. And my sister came up once and I was like, do you want to hear a talk? And she was like, I'm a bless her. Look, she was like this gay. She obviously didn't want to make eye contact. She was like, yeah, I mean, I think it needs a little bit of work. But obviously I was like, and you're going to do this and you're going to reach for the moon, folks. You could do anything. Woo! So I've done nothing from my sister's attic. But fuck all. Living in my sister's attic, but you can believe. Oh, no, if you believe. You can do it. The rabbit's ears were like this. I can't remember. I was working with my therapist at the time.
Oh dear.
And it grew, and I was like, maybe she was like, maybe if you want to impart your wisdom, we could do this podcast. And I was like, what a great idea. And then I had no guest. So I was like, do you want to be a guest? And she was like, yeah. So my first 4 episodes.
Was your therapist?
My therapist? Yeah. And I've got balls. I haven't got that much balls. They were me and my therapist about my journey in getting there. A lot more weight.
Will you air them? Is it too much? Does it go...
I didn't want to freak people out at first, like it was a therapy podcast.
Right, okay. Oh, okay, so I get I get why you didn't start with it.
Yeah, so I had different concepts. So there was 4 episodes we filmed. It's, God, I forget now. Like the importance of relationships, the importance of the people you surround yourself by.
Yeah.
Why we never feel enough. There's some really good stuff on there, but it's very vulnerable. And it's very
maybe
raw.
In time. Maybe
yeah,
in
there's
time.
a few snippets I've released.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe in time. It'll probably be the biggest one I've done, won't it? Like,
God,
this is me.
Yeah.
But for someone who has put myself out there, it's still like challenging. And there is that really heavy side of me. Like I know we sit here and laugh, but underneath all of that is a weight. Like these meaningful conversations. Like, I've never felt enough, Kate. Like I always wanted to be someone apart from me, and this is a new thing. So that's why I shout from the rooftops to everyone, like, yo, you're enough.
But do you know what? This is why I love you and I love what you're doing, because so many people would look at you and would think that you had the perfect life. So to hear somebody like you, who is obviously, you're incredibly beautiful, you're talented, you come from a family, a very well-established family who's done well, successfully. So to hear somebody like you say that you wish you could be anybody else apart from you is fucking wild.
That I would turn the bathroom mirror the other way around so I didn't have to see my own face.
It's wild.
So I wouldn't have to look at myself. And I would do that for like 3 or 4 days at a time, so that if I walked past a mirror, I could look at anyone apart from me, because I couldn't look at myself.
But where's that come from? Where's that? It's almost like a hatred towards yourself.
Yeah, and it's just like never feeling enough. Like I know we've touched on it a lot, and then maybe next time we talk or whatever, I'll go into more. But I had a very, very bad childhood. And that's why I say, like, it doesn't matter what money you've got or things you can do. The money probably protected me from not being in social care and stuff, because I managed to get home from school. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there were real neglectful circumstances of my life that, and do you know what? I wouldn't take them back, obviously. Like, if I could go back and that's what worries me with, like, I know I talk about the trans children and stuff and all that, but they're children that are going through something. And that's why I'm like, listen, like, this has to stop giving them an option to change their gender and do all of this kind of puberty boxing. Let's focus on what's underneath it, because there would have been a time, Kate, that I would have given anything to be anyone apart from me. And I don't want any other child to feel that.
You could have been vulnerable enough at some... Do you know what I mean?
I could have, like...
Yeah, no, that's the danger, though, isn't it? If you feel like that about yourself.
And that's... And then I make it my duty for my son to never feel like that. But then also I feel like people might not like this, but he needs a bit of shit in his life. And maybe that was me splitting up with his dad and him not having that normal background. And I don't think that mollycoddling is the way forward, but I just want people to know that they can just be them, and that they're enough and they're accepted. And the only way to live your life is to be you.
Absolutely.
And it's the most freeing thing, because... And do you know what else with that, Kate? Like,
Would you say you were there now?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the people that are meant for you will find you.
Oh, I say this all the time. Honestly, this is why it's so important to be with you, like yourself. Because otherwise you're attracting the wrong people. You're attracting people that think you're something else, and then they're not going to be your
and then you get disappointed when they leave.
Yeah.
And then and I think it's okay, like not everyone's gonna love you.
No.
And that's okay. Like, mate, I've had a shit, as long as I have these beautiful messages and all that, I've had some abuse as well. Like,
yeah.
And that's okay. We think that everyone should love us and everything should be instant, and life doesn't work like that.
No. Just be yourself and find your people. Find your tribe.
And also, I want for anyone listening to this is that it takes a while to learn to be yourself.
I was in my 40s. I genuinely in my 40s.
Like people, I don't want you to listen to this and go, I'm going to be myself today. They're just gradual changes that happen over time. And we think that what happens is we think we're going to go and read this self-help book. We think we're going to go listen to this podcast. I mean, I've done it. I've listened to this podcast and I'm like, come out pigeon chest, like, I know what it is now. I'm vegan. Like, we won't even get into that, but I did try and be vegan for a very long time. And I was like, I figured it out. And you think everything's an instant answer, but the biggest shifts in our lives are the micro shifts.
Yeah.
And change takes time. Like, even so on my way to see you here today, I sent it to you, didn't I? Like 10 minutes before. Yeah. I was like, this was the introductory episode about me. And when it started, my whole toes curled, because I was like, oh my God, you could hear it in my voice. I was like, obviously I'm in a room full of like 100 people, like giving my first ever podcast live. Like, talk about putting yourself out there in the meat market.
Yeah.
And then as it got in, I was like, do you know what? I'm really proud of that girl. Like, I fucked up my words. Not everything went perfectly, but I showed up.
Yes.
And I tried.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do. And success doesn't look a certain way.
No. I think you've done, honestly, you're the only thing, can you just go back to, the Hoffman, and because it's the story that made me laugh the most, how they were telling you to be quiet, but then you really became involved, like fully immersed in the Hoffman, and you were telling them in the end.
I'm not really going to talk about that. But there was a lot of silence on the retreat that someone like me, and especially when things are awful, like, I want to crack a joke.
Yeah, of course.
It's really awful. My best
Unhealed
mate's dad
trauma,
died.
I need to make people laugh.
My best mate's dad died, yeah? He killed himself. It was awful. But I went round the house and I was like, fuck me, I thought it'd been your mum out of anyone.
Miserable bitch.
But it just, true. But it just falls out, right? And she was like, we did all laugh. But I'm that person, like, I don't know, maybe it's awkward. I'm like,
But we need more people like that. The more people that don't think, that don't premeditate.
Did I tell you about the willies on the whitebboard? No, you don't remember. I'll tell you a few Hoffman stories. So you get there and it's like...
Oh, no, you did tell me about them.
So there's an awful lot of silence. So I would be like, that's fine, everyone be silent in the room. Like, you would eat in silence as well. And I'd like, naturally, I just want to be curious, like catch people's eye. And like, are you going to talk? And when you start, you're not allowed to say what you do for a living or what your last name is or anything on politics. And I was like, well, that's really weird. That if we're meant to be in these group environments where we're getting to know each other, I think that's quite disrespectful. Like, if I'm going to meet you, Kate, I want to know what you do for a living. I want to have a chat with you.
How are they going to all be my besties when I don't know about
How am I going to get to the bottom of it? And they were like, no, because what it does, your subconscious builds up basically a profile and a CV of what they might be like. So they said, if you go, okay, I'm a doctor, I think, educated, went to university, got money. So I then made it my mission to find out what everyone did for a living and what their last names were.
It was a challenge.
Yes. It was hilarious, right? And so you're on this silence, and so again, probably the rebel in me was like, right, everyone adhere to the silence. You speak in the room, and then you have to be in silence for a number of days. I don't want to ruin it for people. And I'm now, like, every time I'm making a coffee, I'd be like, hi, what's your last name? And they'd be like this to me. So there was a few of us, shout out to my best mate Louisa here, that we would go and have a coffee and we would like chat. But obviously the others knew and they'd come in and we'd like...
Judging you.
Judge, yeah. But I was like, oh, mate, you're taking this whole shit so seriously. Anyway, by the time it got to day 3, they want to crack, yeah? But I'm now ready for some peace, yeah? So what happened is people would start coming up to me in the coffee room and go, how was that? And I'd be like... Are you fucking disrespectful piece of shit?
Shut your whore mouth.
I am undertaking silence and you want to ask me? No, I don't want sugar.
How dare you?
But by the end of it, they've all cracked, and they know that there's this crowd. So the crowd that I was mingling that broke the rules is still there, but I've decided they're wankers because they broke the code. And then this lot that now want to talk are coming to me. So I was literally on my own.
I had no one by then.
In the hall, like these fucking lunatics. But it was quite interesting. So you actually had to. So what you have to do is you realise that how you first judge someone. So and how your first judge. So basically, how I first meet you and my first perceptions of you are actually a version of my internal programming. So for example, you might meet someone that's really wealthy and you would go, posh bitch. Like, it's that kind of well-spoken. So you met someone that was really well-spoken and la-di-da, you think, posh, entitled bitch. Like, it's that first thought that comes. So what they do is they ask you to present to someone in the room that triggered you when you first met them.
Oh, right.
So you have to go up to someone and you say, look, okay, I'm going to give you an example. As you put your hand on your chair, so we come face to face, you pick your person, and you're obviously all not allowed to take it seriously, and you say, hi, Kate, when I first met you, I found you loud and offensive.
Right.
Just like my dad, for example. And you would go, because why do you see them as loud and not that I did, loud, because it triggered something to you that happened. That's their idea.
Right.
So they're like, right, go and pick a person, you do it to someone, and then someone does it to you. And I'm not saying I'm like well more spiritually awake than these lot, but no one triggered me. Like, I know if someone's rude to me, Kate, someone cuts me up in the car, I'm like, that says more about them than me. Like, there was a guy filming me going down the bus lane yesterday. Like, I'm not touching you, bro. Like, that says more about you than me. If I drive down the bus lane, sweet.
Yeah.
So anyway, they were like, so sit in a semicircle, and they're like, right, so everyone go and present to your person. Before I got off my chair, I had a line of
they were all queuing for you.
So they said one person cannot take more than 3, right? They made a queue, yeah? It was like Snow White and the fucking 7 dwarfs, yeah? To the point the teacher went, no more for Brogan! No more for Brogan! And
I can imagine you not even being offended, though. Were you even offended?
Because
this is brilliant.
I was like, come on, because they're like, well, I found you, like some of the people that I found you popular, I found you chatty, and that really triggered in me that there were people who'd never felt popular or ever felt confident enough to chat. So I triggered in them,
something.
Certain stuff. They're like, now that I see you for you, because we're like day 4, I apologise. I see you as this. But I have to get my friend Louisa on it. She had tears coming down her face. She went, oh my God, it's not one. and they moved the chairs, yeah, so they could form an orderly queue. And they said, no more for Brogan. And I was like,
you're like, keep them coming.
Because I was intrigued. Like, I knew that I was going to be like loud and in your face and blah, blah, blah. I thought, was there anyone that offended me? None of them did. Because I was like, that's okay. All the things you're saying, okay. I know I am. And anyway, we talk about that thing that is above and below us and walks alongside us every day. That's ours. The day I did my first podcast with Mo Gadat Live was that exact day to a date, a year today that I left the Hoffman process.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I believe in all of that, dates. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and things like that.
It's such a milestone month for me, October, on so much stuff. And this is how we got here.